how to properly lock your e-bike. Stick around. Hey everyone, I'm Dustin. I'm nearly 20 years experience in the bike and e-bike industry, and today I'm joined by Jennifer. Jennifer is an expert in e-bike safety and education. She's put together her own courses to educate children and adults on how to properly ride e-bikes, maintain e-bikes, and keep your e-bikes safe from theft. So she's actually put together her own curriculum, sometimes courses of over 100 people. So she's really an expert in this subject of locking up your e-bike. Now, before we get into it, hit that subscribe button below. Stay in touch with us here at 630. Be the first to know about all the new content we're putting out, giveaways we're doing, and of course, new product releases. All right, Jennifer, thanks for joining us. Now I see around your neck here, you've got a pretty bulky
it's a
lock
necklace.
here.
Yeah, so this is my e-bike lock. This is what I do to protect my investment.
So tell me about, first, I don't know if you can show us how you lock it with that, and then how you carry it, and then what lock is that exactly?
Yeah, so there's a lot of good locks out there. So rule of thumb is to spend about 10 to 15% of the price of the bike on a lock. So this lock cost me about $200. It is the Kryptonite one. Kryptonite has several series of locks they have out. They have the New York Forget About It. This is the Evolution series. And they have different types. So they have ones where you can loop through. So this, you can usually actually use this to lock up multiple bikes if you needed to. It just goes through here and you can just snag it around. As far as keeping the bike safe itself, there's two main points that you're gonna wanna lock up your bike. A lot of people make the mistake of doing the front tire. I could take this front tire off, take this bike and get myself a new tire at any e-bike store. These things come off very, very easily. Any e-bike, any bicycle in general, front tire, really easy. Back tire, much more difficult, but you never want to use tires as your number one locking point. So you're gonna want to come in here and you want to use the main part of the frame. So if you have welding, all different brands of bikes are built differently, but my main suggestion would be to come from the main frame and through your rear tire, and you want to do both. If you don't do both, just do the frame. Don't ever lock just with the tire. But in the center is the best place, it's the thickest, it's the most durable.
Now, how do you transport this lock?
Well, I have 3 kids. They all have a lock like this. Theirs are a little shorter. This is the family lock, but just put in a backpack. And they're not a huge fan of how heavy this is, but this is about 20 pounds. This is not a joke. It does take a thief 4 to 5 minutes with an electric saw to cut through these. But they can't twist it. So even cutting through them is not gonna get them your bike. An electric saw is also very loud. So chances of them running around with that in their backpack is very slim.
And you said this particular lock has some kind of insurance policy that comes with it?
Yeah, so Kryptonite offers an insurance policy with their locks. You have to go online, register it, do the whole, shebang. They do have in their fine writing that the thief does have to leave the lock behind. And if they do, then Kryptonite will pay you the whatever you spent on your bike, they'll reimburse you for that. But the lock has to be left behind. That's the only caveat.
So thieves out there, if you're just gonna take the bike, can you just leave the lock at least?
Please.
I'm just kidding. Now, you use this.
I do.
Do you use that? It looks beat up. So are you using it a lot?
I got this probably about 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago.
Okay.
I love it. It works wonderfully. Yes, it's heavy, but it's worth the investment. Bikes are expensive. They're as much as cars.
And your e-bike's never been stolen?
Never. And I park everywhere, and I use it as I would a vehicle.
How often are you using your how often are you locking your bikes up? Weekly?
Oh yeah, easy. Yeah, easy.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, and like this is
it's no joke.
Yeah, you can see the chains here. This is the real deal. Reminds me, what was the A-Team guy's name? Mr. T?
Yep.
But yeah, and as a testament to that as well, I've actually been in Manhattan before with an e-bike, and I bought a very similar lock, and I actually left my e-bike out overnight in Manhattan with that locked up, and no issues, no problems, came back the next day, and it was still there. And I have to firmly believe if I had some kind of, little dingy cable lock or something, they would have cut through that in a second. So, yeah, I mean, the choice is the rider's. If you want to protect your bike and make sure it's safe, you got to go with a lock like this. One other thing, I'm curious, how did you come up with the 10 to 15% basis? Was that your own metric, or?
No, it was not. So again, I'll refer back to the Bike Coalition of San Diego. They had done a ton of research, and then they had teamed up and this is just from their sites. They had teamed up with different lock companies and done all their own research, and they say that 10 to 15%, if you're gonna spend $3,000 on a bike, you better be spending a good fortune on your lock because it's worth the investment. Those other companies, ABUS, A-B-U-S,
yep, I know
they
ABUS.
make good ones. They make good ones actually mount to the frame too. And they're just as tough as this. They're not as bulky, not as obnoxious. They don't have insurance policies that come with them, but that's not number one in my opinion. But they mount to the frame if you're someone who's older and can't put this in a backpack, that those are good options as well.
Cool.
So.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of options for bags and other ways to carry your lock with you. Look for the right method that would work for you, so it doesn't, mess with your steering or whatnot. Yeah. But it's definitely a really important thing, and cable locks are just not going to cut it with e-bikes, So important thing to look at. The other thing too is I know there's a lot of there's actual insurance policies out there now for e-bikes, and you may want to check if there's any requirements around theft. If you maybe have to have a certain type of lock, in order for the policy to pay out should your e-bike get stolen. I know ABUS also, I believe they're a German company, so they think they also do make good locks. Kryptonite makes good locks as well, so two good choices. The other option, quite honestly, is if you want to go to the hardware store, buy some seriously robust metal chain and get a lock for it. That is an option as well. But yeah, this lock is a really good option. So any more questions or thoughts around your e-bike locks or how to lock an e-bike, please pop them below in the comments, or you can email us at team@sixthreezero.com or call us 310-982-2877. And if you're looking for more education about e-bike safety or maintenance, Jennifer puts on classes. We'll put a link to her information in the description below. You can reach out to her, get a little bit more education if that's something you are interested in. You can also check out all of our e-bikes on our website, sixthreezero.com. And we have a Facebook group called 630 Peddlers. We got thousands of members in there. Join the group, talk to existing e-bike riders, ask them questions about their e-bikes, see how they lock up their e-bikes so you can get more information prior to owning an e-bike yourself, or even if you already have an electric bike. So thanks for sticking around, and don't forget, it's your journey, your experience. Enjoy the ride.